cover is gorgeous, but the content inside, I don't know. Hello friends, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. So today I will be filming my May wrap-up video, and at this time I'm filming this, it is a few days before the end of May and I'm currently at 7 books for the month. However, I'm hoping to get to at least 8 or 9, and I'll mention which books those are at the end of the video. But anyways, I've actually had a pretty successful reading month. There's a bunch of books that I reread that I gave 5 out of 5 stars or really high ratings, and then also some newer books that I gave some not so good ratings to. So I'm very excited to discuss all of these different ratings and all of these different books with you guys. So without further ado, let's just get started. Number 1 is The Selection by Kiera Cass. So I actually reread the original trilogy of the Selection series in order to read Kiera Cass's new book, The Betrothed, which I'll actually be talking about later in this video. And this is the third and final book in the original trilogy. This book actually was my favorite out of all the 3 books. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars and really enjoyed my time rereading it. Honestly, this is probably like my 4th time or more rereading this series, and I'm very happy to know that it's still one of my favorites. I won't necessarily talk about what this book is about, but The Selection is essentially The Bachelor meets like dystopian kind of stuff, because the prince has come of age, and in this country of Ali there are essentially like 35 states, if you want to call it, and he's looking for a wife. So essentially there's a random lottery that one girl from each of the 35 states gets chosen from and goes into the selection to try to like compete for his like love and the spot as his wife, you know? And there's a whole lot of political stuff that goes on. It's really entertaining and I just really loved it. And I think this book is really deserving of a 4 out of 5 stars. It was fun, it was great to read about, and a great conclusion to this trilogy. The next book I read is The Betrothed by Kiera Cass, which is her new release that came out at the beginning of May. And I have a full video review on this, so I'll link that up here if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But I did not like this book just at all. The way this book is described is very like blandly, I feel. We follow this girl, and again it's in a kingdom, and she's like high up in like the rankings a little bit, and she spends some time with the king. She doesn't really think that he's ever gonna like pick her to be his wife, but he ends up really taking a liking to her and ends up like proposing to her essentially. And we essentially follow their love story, but her heart kind of pulls to someone else that she randomly meets one day, and that's essentially the whole synopsis of this book. I believe I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. That's the most generous rating I could give this book. I found a lot of the book very boring, as if I was waiting for something to happen, and nothing really did. I found most of the action kind of happened later on, very close to the end of the story, and for me it just wasn't that great. I would definitely recommend the Selection series over this book any given day of the week, because this book, I don't know, like the cover is gorgeous, but the content inside, I don't know. Anyways, like I said, I have a full video on that because I don't want to say anything like spoilery, and anyone who wants to read this book will get spoiled, so watch that if you're interested. But overall, none of their characters really stuck out to me very much, except for like 2. The plot was essentially non-existent. The amount of just like plot convenience almost is just astounding, and while there were some interesting moments on the rare occasion, nothing that I would go wow over. So hence I'm giving this book a 2 out of 5 stars and would not really recommend it. The next 3 books that I read in the month of May is the Hunger Games series. I'm just gonna talk about these all at once because why the heck not? I have videos on like a lot of these books, so I'll link my Hunger Games trilogy review up here if you want to watch it. But for whatever reason, if you don't know what the Hunger Games is about, we follow 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen, and in this world there is a capital and 12 districts. The capital kind of runs the country and keeps the districts in line, and each of the 12 districts is responsible for something different to help run the country, but specifically the capital, such as like coal, clothes, food, etc. And so Katniss lives in the 12th district, which is like the poorest of all the districts, and every year the capital, in order to stop any future rebellion from happening, holds the Hunger Games, where one girl and one boy from each of the 12 districts goes to the capital and competes in a fight to the death. And she ends up somehow getting wrapped into all of this, and we follow her story. And we also follow her story in these 2 books as well. So this is actually the trilogy that originally got me into reading back in 2014, Christmas of 2014. Like, this series has been one of my favorites for the longest time. I love it. And honestly, when I went into this reread, I thought I would love it too, again, and I was correct. I gave each of these books 5 out of 5 stars and thoroughly enjoyed my time reading all of them. They're just amazing. Me, myself, I'm 17, almost 18 years old, and I think these stories can be enjoyed by many people. I would say the writing style, however, is meant for like younger teens, maybe like 13, 14 years old. But then again, you can read whatever you want. But anyways, I enjoyed them. I would like to say that my ratings on these books aren't biased, and I honestly don't believe they are, but I do have a very emotional attachment to the series, so I honestly don't think there will ever come a day where I give these books anything less than 5 out of 5 stars each. I genuinely think they're great stories. Katniss Everdeen is one of my favorite protagonists I've ever read. She's amazing. I love all the side characters, and there's genuinely not a single character I hate in the series. As a person, yes, I hate them, but as a character and how they contribute to the story, all of them are so good. So yeah, I will forever just love the series. I'm glad I reread them, and I'm planning actually to reread a bunch of my favorites in the coming months, so that's super exciting for me, and this kind of started off that reread cycle very, very well. And next up, we have The School for Good and Evil. Again, this is a reread of one of my favorite series, and The School for Good and Evil I've read a bunch of times over. I'm guessing this is gonna be my 4th time rereading the series. I'm not really sure, but I'm rereading the books now because the 6th and final book comes out June 2nd. I have been so excited to read the finale of the series and how it all ends. It only makes sense to reread the books because, yes, I do remember general things, but if I really want the full experience of reading this book, I need to remember what happens else in the series. That kind of happened with me for the Shatter Me series, the final book. I still need to reread the books because I was so confused going into the last book. It did not end well. But anyways, back to this book. I really enjoyed my time reading this book a lot more than I did the first time. I'm planning to do more videos on this series once I reread them, but I actually gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars upon rereading it, which is really surprising because the original time I did, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And that's a significantly higher rating now. Normally, when you reread books, you tend to like, I don't know, not like them as much. But for me, it was kind of the opposite, which was really weird. This book essentially follows 2 girls, Sophie and Agatha, and they live in this small town, and no one can really escape the town, but like no one seems to like worry about that too much. I don't really know. But every 4 years, 2 kids, one seemingly good and one seemingly evil, gets taken by the schoolmaster. They don't ever return back to the town to go to the school for good and evil and train to become fairy tale characters. It sounds weird, but it's really good. So we follow Sophie and Agatha, who may or may not end up at the school for good and evil. And Agatha, with her living in a graveyard, with her black cat, only wears black, and general grumpy attitude, with her friend Sophie, who wears pink, does good deeds, and tries to do nice things as best she can, seem like an odd pairing, who definitely seem to everyone else, we know who's going to which school, but who really knows what happens? And you're gonna have to read to find out. Like I said, I loved this book a lot, 4 out of 5 stars. It was really, really fun to read. I loved it a lot more. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, I found it a lot less problematic than I did last year when I reread it, and overall I just like thoroughly enjoyed my time reading it. I also will say, while I do have the whole physical copies of the books, I did listen to the books on audiobooks, so maybe that enhanced my experience a little bit. But yeah, overall, love this book, and I'm really excited to reread the rest of the books. And the next book, the 7th book I read, is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. Now again, I do have a full video on this book. You can watch it up here if you are interested. I did not like this book. In the video, I said I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but upon reflection, I've actually changed my rating to 2 out of 5 stars. I wrote it in the description because I think that's what this book deserves. I was thoroughly unimpressed by this book, like so much. This book is over 500 pages, and I constantly found myself reaching for more in the book, like waiting for something else to happen, and then nothing ever did. I don't want to say too much without spoiling it. Like I said, you can watch that video. I have non-spoilers and spoilers. But essentially, this book is a prequel to the original Hunger Games trilogy. We follow President Snow, but now he is 18 years old in his final year of high school at the Capitol. We get a lot of good background information on him and the world, but essentially we follow him as he becomes a mentor for the 10th Hunger Games, and he is the mentor of the female District 12 tribute. So that's essentially all I want to say about the book, because that's really all it gives you when you read the synopsis. But the concept sounded interesting to me. I didn't think I was going to be the hugest fan of it once I heard it, and you know, I was correct. I do think this book gives you a lot of good world building and answers a lot of questions from the original trilogy, but for the book itself, I think it kind of flops. So I talk a lot about my thoughts in that video I mentioned, so be sure to check that out if you want to hear my full thoughts. But yeah, not impressed. And right now, as I'm filming this video, it is a couple days before the end of May, so I'm not 100% sure on if I'll be able to finish my set goals for the end of the month, but right now I'm currently reading The School for Good and Evil, A World Without Princes, and this is the 2nd book in the series. I am about 50 55% of the way done, so I do think I'll be able to finish this book pretty soon, and I plan on attempting to finish The Lost Ever After, which is the third book, but I don't think I'm gonna finish it, but I'm gonna at least try to start it. This book is really good so far. I'm enjoying my time. Chances are I will probably just talk about it in my next wrap-up video, considering I haven't finished it yet, but so far it's pretty good. Anyways, that is my wrap-up for this month. I actually really enjoyed my time reading a lot of these books. For the most part, I either really enjoyed a book or really did not like a book, so you win some, you lose some. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and please comment down below if you guys have read any of these books and your thoughts on them, and whether you disagree or agree with me, because I would genuinely be kind of curious to see like all your thoughts. Anyways, that's all for me. If you have any questions on how I felt on any of these books, leave me a comment down below, and I will see you all very soon in a new video. So until then, bye.